Hello friends, welcome back, welcome back. Good to see you, good to see you. So today, it's a beautiful day out, fall day, and sun is out, nice and warm. Great day for filming, great day for filming. So, I want to talk a little bit today about art, and more than ever how it is a form of rebellion, and it's also a form of freedom. So this is just, I think, a really fun idea to play with, just a really fun idea to play with, the idea of what is so powerful about art, and also why our society doesn't take it seriously in terms of a career, as a responsible way to live and support yourself. The arts in our culture has been very deadened, and it's considered to be a pastime more than anything a hobby. But at the same time, as much as our society oppresses art and the encouragement of art in a profound way, is ironic in a sense, because society loves, what would society be like without art? Without people that are creating film and movies and stories and novels, and the storytellers, and the programs and the video games that we play, all comes through art and creativity and imagination. We also call it entertainment. But without art, there would be none of these things. So let's get into these sort of ideas and go a bit further with it. So, the idea of why our society has been conditioned to disregard the arts, to be an artist. And in some aspect, we indulge it to a point in sports. Sports is one of the greatest forms of entertainment for people. And it's something you can see live as well as television. And there's a lot of excitement in it. But it's not art. It's athletic, because within the teams of the sports, they have uniforms. There's no creativity in that. It is exactly what it is. You have to wear it. Can't alter it. You have to abide by rules of the game, of course. You need rules for the game to work, but there's no creativity or art for the athlete there. Like, you can't make your own logos, you can't pick your number, that's about it maybe. And then they have to compete, and the only time that art might kind of influence or come through in sports is sometimes through very unique athletes that have a very athletic, they have a very artistic influence in their athleticism. And I think of somebody that just really stands out as a good example is like Michael Jordan. I mean, he still had to play within the rules of the game, but there was something that he could do that nobody else was doing, which was he had some style. he added some very creative, personal flair to something that everybody was doing, like jumping and slam dunking. But he took slam dunking and turned it into magic, an art form. It's when he did his, his very now iconic Jordan dunk, with his legs spread open, and he just, the amount of distance he could jump was mind-blowing. It was almost like he was Superman, just how he would fly through the air. I mean, that was just very, very unique. A lot of and look at the brand that it's created because of that, like the Air Jordans. It's mind-blowing, and that's just through him being so, I don't know, he's on another level in terms of tapping into creativity. But to be able to be so creative in a situation where you're confined by so many rules, it really takes an individual to be able to, make an influence in that way. And I also think of somebody actually on the same timeline as Michael Jordan back in the 90s, early 90s with the Chicago Bulls. Was Dennis Rodman. And, Dennis Rodman was another, they were on the same team, and Chicago Bulls were one of the hottest. Even if you weren't into sports, you could not know about the Chicago Bulls and how, they were rock stars, man. Like Dennis Rodman, him, same thing, but his creativity was through his image. He wasn't able to change his uniform, but he could change himself. So, because before, athletes you saw, they always clean shaven with their uniform. It's had like a military feel to it. Baseball, football. So it's almost like they had a dress code, so to speak, very clean, professional. But Dennis Rodman kind of started really saying, fuck that. And he started tattooing himself and coloring his hair different colors, punk rock style, getting piercings. And when he come on the stage wearing makeup, like on the court wearing makeup, and his hair was like 3 or 4 colors, and he had tattoos. And I mean, that was really, a lot of people were just like up in arms, very controversial, but he loved it, Dennis Rodman. But I mean, that's some of the examples that I can think of where art really kind of influenced sports. But you can't really be creative with rules. That's just not the way art and creativity work, So So, what I got to thinking about the whole idea of it is art is freedom in the sense because it has no rules. There are no rules to art. And really, the idea, it's one of the few things in our culture that we can't control. Everything in this society is control, understanding, math, science, understanding, things they can predict. But art has none of those restrictions. There is no limitations. If you're a painter, you're not restricted to a certain amount of colors. You can paint with as little or as much as you want. You can invent your own colors. Sky's the limit. Creativity is unbound. photography, images, anything, drawing, right? Somebody would be able to take something in their imagination, like a superhero, and then think of an idea of that, or and then build it. But to create, and now think of things like Superman, Batman. I mean, without artists and creativity, we wouldn't have like far-fetched things like superheroes, But look at how much culture loves, these things now. But it's but without artists and without people breaking what's normal, like who would think about a man, superpowers that can fly, lasers out of his eyes, like, and how do you, that's so far-fetched, but it's the imagination, and to make it work, and to, the whole lore of Superman, and or Spider-Man, just incredible. And we tend to remember these things more. Like when I think of my childhood, I think of kind of like those imprints, Spider-Man and cartoons, comic books, and I was just blown away by the art. So when I was older and I wanted to become an artist, can't support yourself. And society kind of beats that into everybody. Stop believing in yourself. And there's so many artists where the creativity gets snuffed out of them because life got too busy, responsibilities, and then, the art gets put in the background. But can you imagine what would happen if you encourage people like that, what they would have created and put into the world, what other superheroes would have happened possibly through these people, or new creative ways and cameras evolving, they do anyway. But art is complete freedom of the individual, and it's very authentic because everybody's interpretation of art is so unique. Like, Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane, but you're just like, those are the kings, But you never know, you could be the next Jim Lee, you could be the next, Babe Ruth, you could be the next Michael Jordan, that beautiful, unique gift that only, so no matter what it is that you create, being an artist, but also, what does art say when it is expressed, when it's kind of oppressed in a way, but it starts coming in through the music? And like sometimes that's how music scenes really start to build, is because people just want to do something like on their own, play music for the sake of loving it, and no other reason, So art has to be, to be just honest with what you want to do with your art. But yeah, I'm just kind of rambling on about art, but I think that's possibly a strong reason why it's never really encouraged. But you always have those people they just have a burning desire inside them somehow to create, like writers that just need to write, and they're very good at it, So, imagination, like a Stephen King. Yes, everybody loves his work. His world is imagination. And the guy's just got these dreams where he's just got this, where the creativity just kind of pours through him. He's like a receiver. He just goes to sleep, he gets these dreams, and he wakes up and he's like, oh my God. Gives him a bit of an idea of what a story, book, and character could be next, you know. So being in your awareness more in the moment helps with creativity a great deal, because you're more open.